maybe, so today, apparently I have the topic, and I do, well, more like discuss it, I guess you could say, over generational wealth. What do you think it is, and how do we pay it forward to, the generations to come for our kids and grandkids? So I'll start off by asking, I'll leave it open to the floor. What does everyone think generational wealth is and where it comes from? And I'll lead off with that.
Hey, before we get started, I'd just like to ask everyone, until you are ready to speak, please mute your phone to alleviate and eliminate any background noises that could come. So since I have the mic open, I will start off with the topic, answer to your question to the best of my ability. I'll start off how I grew up. Did not come from a wealthy family at all, but had some family members that during the era that they grew up were small business owners, pillars in the community, and they did some things with their money while they were living. And one of my uncles who passed on, like I said, I worked with him as I was a kid shining shoes. He had a shoe shine parlor downtown, and he make grand theft. I don't know how. He saved everything. This joker saved paper bags, rubber bands. He was just a thrifty type of guy. We eat sardines for lunch and stuff like that. But after his wife passed, he kind of came to our house every day and made sure he got his meal and he would go home. But when he passed, my mother, that was her mother's brother, and she was one of the two kids left out of that circle. And I can say I was a young kid, but I know he left my mom and dad a nice little chunk of change. They did some good things with it, but did they put anything back so that the next generation, which would be me and my brothers, would have anything? Not saying I was looking for anything, but that's probably where the gap is. If someone has something, you got to leave a legacy for your kids. I mean, first of all, you got to know how to save and invest. Make sure you have something for yourself, and then you got to go through the right legal channels to ensure that those behind you, i.e. kids, grandkids, not that you just giving them something, but you want to try to leave them something, and like I said, you pass that forward so that they can do the same thing for their kids. And like I said, you can start out being from humble beginnings. I mean, I grew up very humble beginnings. And financially, I should be sitting a lot better than I am right now, but I do a lot of things that I call them self-inflicted wounds. So I'm not going to blame anyone for my issues. But I got to be the one. I got myself in there. I got to fight my way out. And it's slowly coming back to where I am. I'm just doing what I do. But like I said, I have one daughter. Only thing I have, like I said, for her is an insurance policy. I think I've told her about this. And like I say, everything that I have is in her name. So she deals with that when I pass on, unless she goes before me. We never know nowadays. But that's my take on generational wealth, and I'm sure we're going to hear a bunch of other good thoughts and ideas, and may come back in. Excuse me, a little later. I'm muted now.
Is there anyone else who would like to put an input? That was a good. Thank you for that, Brother Gardner. That was really good.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'll go. It's one of those things, I mean, it's pretty much like Everett said, you go from one generation to the other. And for me, in my case, I'm not going to say it's generational wealth, but it's things that were done back then that are now beginning to pay off now for the generations that are here and the ones that are yet to come. Because, my great-grandmother did something that was unheard of back in the day when she purchased about 280 acres of land. And what is going on now with that is this land never made much of anything through her generation, through my grandfathers and his siblings, my parents and their siblings, and now it's down to us, and we're at the verge of actually making the land pay off. So, like I said, I wouldn't call it exactly wealth right now, but we are on the verge of making things pay off with what was left generations ago. Because this is 3 generations, we're the 4th that has had an opportunity to do something with this property, and now we're on the verge of making the property pay, other than it just sitting up there and we paying the taxes on it. So that's kind of what my spiel on it is. You do things, you set things up not only for the now, but for the after now and for the later. That's your kids' kids, and your kids' kids' kids. That's what I kind of feel like generational wealth is, and that's what we're in the process of trying to complete now with that process. So that's just my little 2 cents.
Thank you for your feedback, Brother Ham. That was really good as well. I appreciate that. Is there anyone else on the floor who would like to, give me their input before I say my part?
Go ahead, Nick. Speak yours.
Okay. So we, Brother Gardner talked about the business and you talked about the land. Well, I'm going to do something a little different then. Would y'all or would y'all not agree that being educated and being well informed can create generational wealth as well, due to the fact that, for example, I grew up, you don't even have to say anything, you just have to be there. So I grew up, very poor, and nobody knew how to invest. Nobody knew about saving. Nobody knew about interest. Nobody knew about real estate. Nobody knew about anything. And so that being said, if maybe I was taught that as a kid, I would have had an advantage as I gotten older. So that being said, aside, like real estate and, bonds and stocks and all of that, I think informing our children on actual financial literacy, on proper decision-making, being rational, that also can create generational wealth, because sometimes people aren't in a position to open a business or buy land or, even buy a house. But if you pass on an immense amount of knowledge and you have your children well informed and your grandkids well informed, the knowledge is going to go further than anything else, in my opinion. And if you're well informed and educated, you make more precise decisions when it comes to life-changing events. And I think that can also create generational wealth, because now you know the knowledge, you have the knowledge, now it's time to execute if you're in a position to do so in the future. What are y'all thoughts on that?
can agree with all of that, Nick. I definitely can agree with that because knowledge is power. And when you have the knowledge, you do have the power. And you're right, arming yourself, your siblings, your dependents, your family, period, with knowledge is a key to generational wealth because you're right. Knowing how to do as well as is more than half of the battle. Having a knowledge of how to do. Because, you can always make bad business decisions and lose it all. But you never lost it all if you have the formula that you use, that you exercise, that you practice to get it back. Because if it worked once, it'll work again. And that's where the knowledge comes in at. Being able to understand what you did when you made the mistake and lost it, and being able to get all back that you lost plus some, because now you know what the mistakes were you made, and you still have the knowledge of how to do, as well as the mistakes you made and what not to do. So I can agree with all of that.
Anyone else want to give some input?
This is Ayani. I've heard bits and pieces. I'm trying to get these little ones in the bed, but I can agree with what I've heard so far in terms of what I believe generational wealth is, and I'm not sure anybody's actually said it using these terms, but it's also knowledge because if you can take your knowledge and you can build on that and you can expand it and you can pull in other streams of revenue, then you create generational wealth faster. So in terms of teaching children, I think we need to start with helping them understand how important it is to learn about things, not just, go through life, playing video games and partying with friends and watching television and all this stuff, but find out what they actually like and then help them understand that they can turn that into a business or they can turn that into a special interest and build on that. That's just my 2 cents.
A phenomenal input, and yeah, we were kind of touching around that base. So yeah, you hit it on the head though. Thank you for your input. Is there anyone else on the floor? What about you, Brother Andre? What you got to say?
I ain't really got a lot to add on that, man. I'm currently trying to build my generational wealth for my kids and grandbabies. So I don't have that formula in set already. I don't really have nothing to contribute on that at this point. I'm in the process of building that. I'm in the grassroots stages of building that as we speak.
Okay.
Let me borrow some of your money, Nick.
But so then I go into a little bit. What happened?
I said that part. Let me borrow some of your money.
Man, I'm so broke that if you rob me, you'll just be practicing.
Okay.
But no, so I'll go into a little more elaborate discussion now that I have everyone's input and their thoughts. So obviously, it starts off with the knowledge because you're not able to start a business if you don't have the knowledge on how or what to do, right? So once you are able to do something like that, how you get the generational wealth started and how you keep it going, there is a process, So for example, with me, I have an LLC, and then we have a few other things. But things you have to consider when it comes to generational wealth is that your children may not want what you've created, and that's how a lot of empires have fell. So that being said, that's why the Rothschilds and all of them are still so successful, because although they're dead, they're still making decisions in their grave because they've created trust, right? And a trust is something you create that will actually continue to drive your legacy forward, and you're the one making the decisions because of how everything's in place. So if your kids, you create this generational wealth for your kids and your grandkids, but they don't want nothing to do with it, well, you can sit down with an attorney or whoever it is that you trust this through, and you can come down with a full, in-depth, like 200-year plan on what's going to happen with everything you created and how you want it to play out. And so although your children and grandchildren may not want to, like, run the business or whatever it is you may have, or, like, work the land, on the 200 acres, once you become financially capable, you can have it to the point where your trust is saying, hey, this is what's going to happen every year or every 5 years, and then after that we'll reiterate and we'll do this with, other family members. And so the trust and making plans, thinking forward, that's how you're going to keep the generational wealth going on. And then you can also put, stipulations on it for the kids, for like, okay, well, if you want the money but you're not wanting to be part of the work, well, then you're going to have to meet, X, Y, and Z requirements. Because a lot of people fail to realize that generational wealth falls apart after 3 generations, right? And so your kids won't appreciate it, then your grandkids will only be able to touch a little bit of it, but your great-grandkids won't even really see it, because that's usually what happens when you don't have anything major set up. So that being said, what are y'all's thoughts on how to prepare for the future once you establish generational wealth?
Well, I'll go with that one first. Because I know, like you were saying, your kids may not want to do what it is you're doing to continue that particular strand of wealth. But to me, them being able to bring something to the table and diversify what you've already built and build on that from that is another way, in my opinion, of building the generational wealth as well. Being able to diversify with more than just one thing. If, like with Hershey, no one just wanted to do just chocolate. So they diversified. They did chocolate milk. They did several other things that still do at this point. Because this is the generational thing, and when the other generation come in, they may want to try to do something else that's still connected to the mother company, the parent company, but it's diversified, so it goes into a different avenue, a different genre, you would say, to continue moving forward. You're still making money. You're still creating generational wealth. Each generation is contributing what it is they feel is their contribution to this by doing their own thing individually under the parent company.
Okay, that's really good. You got me thinking now with a little differently on that part. Is there anyone else who has an idea or a thought on how once you establish your generational wealth, how you keep it going forward, and better ways to execute?
All right. Well, if you are if you are able, like I say, you start setting yourself up and paying it forward to the next generation, so hopefully they're educated enough to pay it forward to the next. But let's look at generational wealth. I grew up with a lot of people. In my hometown, I started out going to the all-black school. And there was a side of town that if you were a person of color, the only reason you were over there was to do some type of domestic work, or you was with someone that, you wasn't just going over there to hang out. It was called the South End at the time. That area has expanded greatly since I left home 36 years ago. But once I went from elementary school, like I say, I went 3 years in all-black elementary school, 3 years once they did the integration, to a lower class, I'd say lower middle class, Caucasian neighborhood school. So I went from kids like myself and then even white kids that had nothing, and then transitioned from the 6th grade to the 7th grade. We got transferred to that side of town where at one time we were forbidden to even go. So I ended up going to school and hearing these names of kids that I had heard growing up. I'll just, names that were big in my hometown back then. One was the Whittenbergs, another was the Bivens, and there were the Wares. The Wares owned the bank, the Amarillo National Bank, and they still own it to this day. So a lot of those kids that I'm mentioning, they really didn't have to work to achieve the generational wealth. It was just, they were born with silver spoons in their mouth. But I will tell you this, I have one good friend of that family that owns that bank. He decided he was going to be the Lone Ranger. And once he turned to be the Lone Ranger, that's how that family treated him, like the Lone Ranger. Okay, you going to step away from this? Well, you ain't going to get none of this. He went off on he had some bad experiences with some drugs, did a lot of things that, a lot of people did back in the day. But he finally worked himself back into the good graces of the family, because that family, along with owning that bank, they had big land and cattle out there. So, but he slowly worked himself back, got himself together, made his way back into the family. A couple of the other families that I'm talk about, those guys just passed money down, and that generations are going to be rich, as long as those kids do what mom and papa tell them to do. Now, that's a different sort of generational wealth. Like I said, people like us, we have to work and try to get to a certain level of well-to-do-ness, or, you want to say wealthy, rich, whatever, so that we can pass forward to our generations, teach them so that they can pass to generations out. Excuse me, after them. And some of our kids, I'll just say, are doing better than us. I mean, like I said, my daughter, I didn't really teach her a lot because I was in her life, but I wasn't there on a daily basis as a dad. Raised by a single mom, and then she is raised two boys by herself, and done an outstanding job. And she's trying to teach them. You're not going to be given anything as long as you try and do the right thing. And, we can put some things together and make things work. I watch her do this, and I try to sit down and talk to my grandsons as well. But like I said, that'd be like a little comparison. Those who already had it and gonna always have it, opposed to us who have to work for it and pass it on to our kids and grandkids, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, brother, you hit it on the head with the, kind of like not surface level, but, proof on one of the points you made about the knowledge, right? So although a lot of people, talk about kids with, being fed, with silver spoons, if you step back and think about it, now this is just my opinion, and we all got one of these, if you step back, can you really be mad at them for having parents who became educated and well-informed and set themselves up and their children up so they didn't have to go through the struggles that they potentially went through, right? And I use myself as an example on this one. Although I'm going through, a current situation, my son will not have to go through the suffering that I went through as a child. Like, my son won't have to go to Walmart and, eat the food from the deli and then just leave Walmart. He's not going to have to worry about, lights and water because I'm always going to take care of that. He's not going to have to worry about, school clothes. He's not going to have to worry about none of that. And I say that to say this. When, you grow up in the struggle like that, your first instinct is survival mode. So when you can take an individual and no longer have them in survival mode, you're already a step ahead from the people who are stuck in survival mode. And so now they're going to have a leg up, and they're going to be able to make more precise and logical decisions because, the worries that those kids in the struggle have, he doesn't. So he's actually prepared to take the next step in his life or her life or whatever it may be, And so if y'all have a disagreement on me with that, please say something because I'm going to go on mute now, and I'll leave the floor open to what I just said.
Now, look, folks.
I
know there are more. Go ahead.
I was kind of listening to what Nick was saying, and I was thinking about how, even though we're talking about generational wealth, we tend to keep things from our kids. Sometimes we don't want them to see us struggle. It depends on the child as far as I'm concerned. Some children learn more from seeing somebody struggle, so they can try to figure out how to not let that happen to them or figure out ways to solve problems. And then, depending on if you've got an overly sensitive child, they may not take the right lesson from seeing a parent struggle. So you just have to kind of balance everything out. If you're going to give a lesson in life and struggling, you got to balance it out with turn the struggle around and make it work for you. Figure out how to come through it and do things better.
Okay, yeah. That's a really good thing you said. I really appreciate that. And I don't know if you heard it earlier, right? What I had said. So we had talked about what generational wealth in our opinion was, and everyone, who did speak stated, about physical stuff, right? Like businesses and land and stuff like that. And then I stated, generational wealth can also come from, being educated and being well informed. And so what I meant to say, or maybe I didn't say it right, because they had hit it on the head about, the struggle. And so what I was saying is that a kid, right, who doesn't go through the struggle because their parents, they took that step forward. They, they were in the trenches and they created an environment for their children to not have to struggle. So the kids who have parents that are well established and, they've created generational wealth, they're never going to have to go through the same struggles that the kids, in the projects of Chicago are going to have to go through. They're not going to be in fight or flight mode like that. And so when you say solving problems, the problems those kids have, they're not the same problems as someone who grew up in the projects. They're going to be hit with, more, I guess you could say, more business level problems, such as like, okay, do I want to go entrepreneurship? Do I want to go to college? Compared to, damn, how am I going to pay the light bills? How is mama going to have food on the table? Do I need to go work at McDonald's? You see, the dynamic changes from the silver spoon fed kids because their parents did make a sacrifice or whatever it may have been. But the kids who grew up in the struggle and they live in the hood and, they deal with like serious shit, those silver spoon kids are never going to have to really ever deal with that because they're already a step ahead due to the generational wealth of education and being well informed, which is why I stated that earlier. Can generational wealth also be making sure your kids are well educated and well informed? Because what you said is very good and is very accurate on with a lot of people. But what I was saying is it goes back to my point. If you have a well-educated kid that's well-informed, the struggles you were talking about, they're never going to have to go through that because they're already a step ahead. And that's how, you do continue to build generational wealth. And it goes to what, Brother Gardner and Hamp said, like that the education, not the education, but the knowledge is power. What are your thoughts on that, sister?
I agree with that. Excuse me, sorry. I'm thinking back to a conversation I had with someone a couple of days ago. And I'm a very big proponent of it depends on the child, because we can line things out for them, we can lay things out for them, we can teach them, but if they don't want to get it, they're going to go in the opposite direction. So I said that to say maybe we can come up with alternative plans. And what those alternative plans may be, I haven't thought that far. But if you've got, more than one child, present it to them all. Let them see it all. One may pick it up. They all may pick it up. And nothing does my heart better than to see teach a child something and then have them parlay that into something else. So that, there again, that's that knowledge, gaining that knowledge, that we've been talking about. I would love to see some of the old, and there again, they may be outdated, but I guess I'm telling my age now. There were several clubs in high school, that we could join and we could learn things. I know they have stuff like that now, but so much of the old knowledge and the way of doing things has changed because the world has changed. So there again, you got to get that knowledge. It never hurts to be aware of how they used to do things or the way things were done before, because there's always, something good that you can get out of that. But anyway, I think I'm rambling now, so y'all forgive me. I'm tired. Good job, Brother Nick.
I will say this. In my opinion, when you have more than one child and you've already built that financial foundation or that generational foundation, I think it would be wise to let each one of these children bring to the table what they're passionate about doing, and you all sit down and see how you can make this work upon the foundation that has already been laid. It might be something as simple as investing in something, or they may need a startup loan for capital.
True.
Things of that nature. Because I don't think any kid, given the correct opportunity with the knowledge and all of that, would stray far from wanting to create their own. I watched my parents. Our parents were not rich, but they created a base and a foundation for us, showing us how to do and allowed us to be creative. Because what they did it and how they did it may not be necessarily how it works at that time for the children. And I know some people have kids that feel entitled. Like they owe me this. I don't need to do anything. Well, see, to me, those are the ones you sit down and it's like, okay, this is how much you get for life. What you do with it is what you do with it. You go broke, you go broke. Because I don't see how much sense it would make to see your people struggle, make it, try to bring you up in that, educate you to it, and you don't want to be a part. Well, let me rephrase that. Not say you don't have to be a part of what they built, but at least be able to contribute in your own way to what they have built to keep this going. Because, for me, I would have loved it if my parents owned a business or something. I was one of those kids, I couldn't wait to get out of Louisiana when I got out of college, and that's not a big deal. But knowing now what I didn't know back then, I would have stayed and made it work if that would have been the case. But, being out, having moved around, being in several other places, several major cities, learning as you go, you learn a lot. You learn how to live. I guess that's the term. You learn how to live. You learn how to spend. You learn how to save. And yes, my parents was always one of those that said, whatever, when you're working, you get your bills paid, you spend a little, or you save a lot. Well, I was one of those kids, I did the opposite. I spent a lot and saved a little because I was about having my fun, because I thought that's what you did. In my eyes, that's what I did. But, having kids now and looking back on what it was I did, I tell my children about what I did. And I end the statement with saying, I made those mistakes, and I'm telling you so you don't have to make them. I have a 15-year-old that has a T-shirt business. Well, a 16-year-old now. But she has a T-shirt business. and she sells T-shirts to the students in her school. Now, I've not quite figured out what she does with the money she makes because I'm still financing that. But nevertheless, she does do this. And that's about my 2 cents.
So would you say, Brother Hamp, that like the knowledge, the guidance, and the opportunity you were able to give your daughter, right, which comes down to being educated and well-informed, has set her up for an opportunity to create her own version of generational wealth?
I definitely would. Because even if you don't have it financially, but you have it mentally, it's like we said earlier, that's worth more than the paper money itself.
You got the blueprint.
You know, because you can take my money, but you can't take my mind. And for as long as you possess that mental blueprint of how to do, you'll always be able to do.
Yeah, I agree. I think this was a good conversation. Like, even though it wasn't a lot of us talking, but just from the 4 people who gave their input, it was different, but we were able to agree to disagree and actually see things on similar paths as well. That's pretty cool. Is there anything anyone else on the floor would like to say, or give their thoughts about generational wealth, or what are your thoughts on like how do we create it, or what should we do, as the old heads, I guess you could say, to try to get this information and try to help inform our kids on how to create generational wealth with current society and economic disasters that we're dealing with right now.
I would say one of the ways is we as the old heads, as you put it, we have to arm ourselves with modern technology.
Mm-hmm.
Because kids today are coming up in a technological, you know what I'm saying?
Technological.
There you go, technological era. So we have to arm ourselves with that so we'll know what it is, because someone mentioned, well, playing video games and all of this. Video games is what make money, contrary to popular belief.
And it keeps your mind sharp.
It makes money. YouTube, it makes money. For years I never knew that you could get rich being a YouTuber. Half of the people you see on TV now you've never heard of, but they have millions of followers, and they're millionaires because of YouTube. This podcast going live could be a way that we make money. This could be a way that not only are we doing this for us, but we're doing this for all the other ones that are on Grown Folks Talk, because they go live now. Just imagine if everybody was going live, how many other people we would be reaching. Building that generation, building the wealth, not only for ourselves, but for the line as a whole. You have to think outside of the box. Because for so many years, I was always told, you go to school, you get your education, you get your job, you work that job for 30 years, you retire, you live happily ever after with that. That's not how this is anymore. You got people that don't even finish high school that are millionaires. So that blueprint has proven to be ineffective in a lot of ways. That's why I say you allow the people around you within your circle that you're trying to move forward with to be creative, because they may know something of how to do that you have no idea. Because it's like you said, Nick, we are considered the old heads. You know, and I know a lot of times as you get older, you become cantankerous, and you ain't trying to hear it.
You got to tell them what that means.
You know, so with that being said.
Okay, so I left it in the mail slot.
I'm sorry, say that again.
She may have accidentally come off mute. I think that was before I
think she did.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, because you talking about the mail slot. I'm like, no, that ain't how you do the generational thing, but okay. But, you know, yeah, like I was saying, it's about being modernizing, developing a plan, and executing. You know, to me, that is the basis of actually building generational wealth. That is the basis of being able to move forward from generation to generation, because it's a known fact, everything changes. And if you're not diversified enough to change with the times, you don't grow. Generational wealth is about growing. You have to be able to grow as you move forward from generation to generation. That's what I mean when I say allowing those that are coming behind you to be creative. Take the reins and do something different. Diversify things. Because you never know where it may lead to. And again, that's my little dime worth.
Hi, topic, please. Good evening, everyone.
Go ahead.
Now, I'm just arriving. I apologize. I know I missed a whole lot, but I was just wondering what the topic was.
Oh, okay. Nick, you want to go ahead, Nick?
Oh, I was going to say, so it's generational wealth. What are your thoughts on what generational wealth is, and how do we pay it forward to the next generations to come?
Oh, well, I would say one of the keys to generational wealth is education. To not do it and expect it to be done if you did not teach how it is done. And then, as well as building the wealth, securing the wealth and the trust. A little bit better than a will. If you notice, most wealthy people, they speak about their trusts. Children are living off trust money, which is just like a birthed entity, that holds all of the wealth that the family has created. All of the value, all of the assets are in this, I'm going to say Big Apple because I'm from New York, but no, in this Big Apple, which is a trust. But we want to, I heard, was that Hamp, I think maybe, Speaking about diversity, that's the other thing. We have to recognize that the younger generation is coming with our ancestors' wisdom. So we might have our way of doing things, but we should be a little open to hearing how they see it can be done, because they are usually of another generation, and that generation is having other conversations, and a lot is being developed that we don't see as older people because we're not in their circles. So we need to really always come to the table, bring them to the table, and be open to learn from one another, but definitely teaching how the wealth was received, how the wealth was earned, what kind of investments were made. All of that is important. Thank you.
We got is it like 4 minutes we have left, Brother Hamp?
We got about 33 minutes left.
Oh, man, I lost track of time. So that being said, we can go into, if y'all want, I think she hit it on the head, too, with what we were talking about since she joined late. We did say education and becoming, making sure people are well informed is another way to create generational wealth. But I will say to what you're saying on just being educated, I know a lot of people who just base life off of education, and for the most part, they've never been able to create generational wealth because they don't have, the information on how to create it. So being educated, in my opinion, only when it comes to creating generational wealth, being educated only gives you tools to do the research and all of that. But if you don't have the information, right, and you're educated, then what is your education going to do for you? But if you have the information, your education comes into play because you know how to study, you know how to research, you know how to do this, you know how to do that. But I think education and having the information work hand in hand together. I know people with no education, but they're well informed, and they have created a lot of generational wealth. So I'll say I think being informed and being educated are completely two different things as a whole. And we did speak about the trust, but you're right, it is an entity just like anything else because it gets its own ID number, but that's how you protect and you plan and you pay it forward when it comes to generational wealth. But what are your thoughts on that, ma'am, with what I just said?
So thank you. When I mention education, I'm not speaking of academic education. I'm speaking of if you're the adult and you've built wealth, if you've invested, if you've so your diversified portfolio that you've created over your years, you now want to teach your generation under you. You want to teach them how you did what you did. I don't mean in school, not that kind of education. Because there are people, as a tax preparer, I know people who get very large returns, and they literally are on a fixed income, low income, and they budget their money and invest their money very wisely. So not to say that because they're low income, they're not educated, but knowing what to do and how to do it is key. And then you teach others the same thing. So no, not academic education, not at all. The academics is really fooling us to become just slaves to the paycheck for the most part. And no. I'm sorry. I don't want to offend anyone who's who's with degrees. That's okay. But most of the academic education is teaching you how to get a good job. we're not really taught, and I'm going to say on the lower level, not poverty, but elementary school, high school, junior high school, we're not taught business. We're definitely not taught investment. But people of other cultures, they have their young people sitting with them at 4 and 5 years old. They're invested in real estate. They're invested in products. They're invested in commodities. Teaching them from young. So that's the teaching and education that I was referring to.
The one thing that I've not heard anybody mention, but that in my opinion is very important, is the streets. The streets will educate you. The streets will teach you. You can learn in the streets as well as from the streets on generational wealth, because a lot of these well-known rappers started in the streets. Doing whatever it was they needed to do to make it, to get studio time, to get demos done, to do payola for radio play. That's building that foundation. Rockefeller Records, Master P's, No Limit Records, Lil J, Rap-A-Lot Records. These guys came from the streets. Now, they got the education once their platform was well on its way to being created. But the knowledge they gained in the streets is what they used to build the platform. And all of these people are wealthy, extremely wealthy. Generational wealth is what they've created because they have labels. They have profitable labels. I'll go another further with you with Master P. Not only were they just doing rappers, they started doing Disney. NWA, same situation. Dr. Dre, Ice Cube, DJ Yellow, all of those guys came from the streets, but built generational wealth. Ice Cube took what he did with NWA and look at him now. He's doing movies, major blockbuster movies. NBA, Big Three. So I agree, everything is not always found in a book. Sometimes you have to go outside of the box or outside of the book, in this case, and move with what you know works for you. Because, in my opinion, none of these guys were scared to move forward because they believed in what it was they were doing. They did not allow self to get in the way and become self-destructive at that time. They decided to move forward and push on, despite what hardships may have come. And now what we see is more or less the finished product of what they've accomplished. Dr. Dre just got his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Look how many people he has made millionaires out of. They got their own star. That's got their own star and their own labels. So, I agree. Everything is not always in a book. It's not always book knowledge. The streets can teach you a lot in life. The streets can actually teach you how to live life. What not to do, what to do, how to do. But you got to be open-minded enough to be acceptable to that and not think that it's only low-life people that do this. Because that's where, again, that input comes in from various people as to say, oh, well, they this, they that, them rappers, they don't do this, them rappers, they cause this. These rappers are millionaires. Lil Wayne, Drake, all these guys, they're millionaires. But it was the streets that taught.
May I speak?
Go ahead.
So I 100%, and I think everyone agrees with you. And I didn't know part of the conversation was not just generational wealth and what do you think of it, but how do you acquire it? What are some of the different ways? And people do a lot of different things. And I'll give one example first. One example is network marketing. Now, you have people who will say, oh, it's a pyramid scheme. Might be, but Dudley Hair Products, when I was a kid, I remember Mr. Frankenstein going through the neighborhood, that was his name, going through the neighborhood, had his briefcase, going into one beauty salon, another beauty salon, and he became the top Northeast regional manager. Millionaire. But if you looked at it, you would think, oh, he's just doing this something. He's just selling these products. Well, you look at Avon and Tupperware and Mary Kay. You look at many different companies that are building their structure on a network marketing, multi-level marketing system. You must be mindful of the product or service, so you do your due diligence, just like you would do if you applied for a job, hopefully. You would kind of, check out the company and make sure, okay, I'm not here for just a week. I'm really going to be here possibly for, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 years. But there's a lot of independent businesses out there that have created millionaires as well. You have to start somewhere. And I always say when it comes to network marketing businesses that are presented to me, I want to be a product of the product. I want to be able to use it so that even if I don't make money, I'm sharing something that has value and I use the product or service as well. And that not only is that a great way of building wealth, so I always do this when I'm sharing, because I'm not a heavy recruiter, but I don't touch it unless I believe in it, because I'll talk in my sleep. But what I share when I am introducing it to someone, the parent should come in and the children should build under the parent. One, because the children are always going to move up. The children are going to, and when I say children, 18 and older, the generation below us, they're going to build. They're going to bring in their friends. They're going to build. So it's helping to support the parent. They kind of need that as well. But the parents should come in first and then build with your children, with your friends, with their children, with their friends, products or services that have value. People think when you start a business, you need millions of dollars to start a business. Well, that depends on the type of business that you want to start. And technically, when you come into a business, again, Mary Kay, Tupperware, Avon, they have a prepaid legal, even the insurance companies, Primerica. Primerica is multi-level marketing with an insurance company, and you can build a team. And the power in building the team is that you earn bonus money on top of what you are physically doing to earn your own money. And what do you do with that? Once again, you put all of that in a trust. You put your businesses in a trust. So there's so many ways. And as you were speaking about the rappers, Jay-Z was like selling his CDs out of his trunk. Why? Because he believed in his product. He believed that he was good enough, and you don't need anybody else to give you a stamp of approval when you believe in yourself, your service or product that much. But the marketing strategy, I mean, I see on social media people are marketing their handbags. They're marketing skincare. Okay, as long as you make sure all of that is not just registered but healthy and good, you can become a product of that product. If you like the bag, it's called affiliate. So affiliate programs, when you go to any website, when you scroll to the bottom where all the fine print usually is on the bottom, unless you're on an app, it might be on the side, you'll see partner with us, or affiliate. That means they're looking for people to help move their product for a commission. You don't have to pay anything. They will look at your website, make sure your website fits into their type of business or doesn't, how do I say, what's the word? It's not the I don't know why I lost that word, but it's not the opposite of their business. So you can't be adult movies and want to sell children's clothes and affiliate with children's clothing, But you look at the bottom of the websites, partner with us, or affiliate. You can create a website that actually becomes like a Alibaba or Amazon. You're not touching anything. You're just marketing your site. And when people go to your site and they click on whatever they click on and shop and buy, you get a commission. That easy. So there are different ways to build income, along with traditional work, which doesn't cost you a whole lot of money. And yes, you have to put in time, but that time could be on your porch, in your living room, on your recliner, because a lot of it is also home-based. I'll just share that.
That was a very interesting insight, Mr. Vanier. And like I said, there are ways to make money other than traditional employment. And I'm always taking notes when I hear stuff like this, because I'm always looking for a way to make an extra dollar without stressing or doing anything overly physical. But anyone else from the group? Nick, I'm gonna commend you, give you a pat on the back. This is one of the more interesting topics that we've had, and it's obvious that you did your homework, did a little research to bring it to us to have the questions that you have. So good job tonight, young man.
Appreciate that, old man.
Well, you just remember, I've been your age. You ain't never been mine.
Where's the lie?
Yes, and I will go so far as to say the same thing Everett said. Good topic. Darn good topic. Interesting. Well informed. I like stuff like that. So you can break your arm giving yourself a pat on the back tonight, because it was very good.
Just trying to be like y'all.
Hello.
Be like this. Yes.
My name is Tiffany. Sorry, my voice is really torn up right now. I have strep. I'm actually Andre's sister, and I decided to tune in tonight with my mom and aunt. How is everyone?
We're good. How are you, Tiff?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm trying to make it. I just wanted to tap in on the generational wealth because the last comment, I'm sorry I didn't catch her name, it actually it kind of resonated with what I'm doing with my business currently as well with generational wealth. So currently generational wealth was taught to me as to go to school and work. So that's the only way that I knew how to do it. So you have to have the mindset to want to do something additional as far as having your own business. So I kind of feel like even if a business was presented to me as a child, I probably wouldn't have taken it that serious because my mindset wasn't there. Because we did have, in my family, we've had cafes and other businesses that, just it was nice to have, but it was just something that maybe I didn't want to do. But traditional is not really the newest thing that you can do right now. The newest thing is trending. So anything social media or marketing or networking is where the generational wealth is, because your children are coming up in school, tablets, everything you do is on a phone or on a network. So if they can master how the network is working, they can take that wealth with them no matter what the age group is or wherever they go. Amazon, the KDP, where you can create your own documents and files and resell those, done-for-you products, stuff like journals, planners, even like if you know something like how to create an LLC or how to design something, you can make a template for it, resell that template for maybe $10 to $15, and it just sells while you're in your sleep. So you're making residual income while you're in your sleep. I'm currently working on the product such as that, where most of it is all digital, and all you're doing is putting it on your website, like she said, it's as an affiliate. And when someone clicks on it, they go to a site, and it downloads on its own, and the person has the product ready, available for them right then. And the only thing you're doing as time progresses, even when you're teaching this to your loved ones or your children, is you're keeping it up to date. So you're making sure the products you're selling is current to what you can use in life. You're solving an issue or something that they need to just update to change the look or so. So generational wealth right now, only thing you're really needing to focus on is what's trending and what's, I don't want to say fast or quick, but children's attention span is not that keen. So they're waiting for something that's going to be easy. You don't want to make it easy, but you do want to teach them, the way of how to work with technology and deal with products that are already done for them. So it does kind of make it easy, but it does make them work in a sense, because everything is going digital. They can do it from home, and they can even get their friends and, build a team of their own off of that. And then it can build into a physical product later on. Just an idea or some insight on what I've currently been seeing.
All right, thank you. Thank you for that.
No problem.
Glad that you could join in for us tonight.
Thank you.
Well, I'm looking at the time, and I got 9:49.
May I share?
So, go ahead.
So, thank you. I just want to share. Yesterday, I had an opportunity to be interviewed on a radio program online that's going to go across every major podcast platform, Spotify, iHeart, all of that. I'm excited. But what excited me the most was that I had an opportunity to share the affiliate program that I have with my business. So my website, if I may share it, may I?
Go ahead.
It's networkingforsuccess.info. Networkingforsuccess.info. I create an affiliate program to help market my book. Well, my books is actually 2, on mental health and overall health and wellness, motivation, inspiration, and empowerment. I create a link. Anytime anyone clicks and shops, you get a commission. It's also great for nonprofit organizations to use it as a fundraiser. But on that site, I'll also have an online travel business. I sell the travel agencies, and I have a travel agency. Anyone is welcome to go on to the travel sales portion, register. You get your own travel and shopping portal. I get paid when you shop, which is okay. You know, it's that click and do. Also, as an insurance agent, you can actually become one. People don't realize how easy it is to become an insurance agent. You do training, you know, but it's not that difficult, and it is an excellent residual income tool. Excellent residual income tool. So there's a lot of things on there. Anyone who's interested in earning extra income, passive or active, check out the website. Look around it. It's really cool. Thank you.
I can back you, Gardner, up on the travel agency. About 20 years ago, I had a travel agency, and by the time I just kind of but by the time I just kind of got bored with it and moved on to something else, I actually had a couple of sales come through. They held that money for me for 20 years. I just got that check, I don't know, maybe about 5 months ago. So, you know, a lot of these things are not fly-by-night. They're actually very good companies. Just do your research. That's all you got to do.
Well, if you just got the check 5 months ago, that means there's McDonald's and Slurpees for everybody. Yippee!
Come on.
Now, with that being said, again, the time is 9:53. And, you know, I want to do something a little different because we've had a lot said on the line. If there's anyone else on the line that has a business and would like to plug their business, here's your opportunity to do so. We just need you to state your name, the name of your business, and what it is you want to say. The floor is open.
I'll give mine. I'm currently revamping it, but I'll give mine. So I'm Tiffany,
Okay.
And on my website, I have two. I have a digital marketing website, and then I have a regular business website. So I'll give you the business website for right now, since the other one's in the making. It's www.ccraftcreations.com, and I do a lot of crafts in general. But like I said, I do have another side of the business that I'm just trying to merge together. So, but you can reach me through the main one.
Okay.
Thank
Everybody
you.
got that. Not a problem. Everybody got that? Does it need to be repeated?
Please repeat it. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
It's
Tiff?
www.ccraftcreations.com.
Thank you. And congratulations.
Is that E as in Edward or T as in Tom?
Creations. So I'm horrible with the
first letter.
Oh, Charlie. So C.
Anyone else? All right, we got about 5 minutes left. I will give everyone an opportunity that is still on the line for any last-minute words or comments. Nick, again, great show.
Yeah,
Appreciate it,
me.
brother.
You know,
Yeah, right.
I gotta stay professional.
Okay.
Now I was gonna say something crazy, but like it's me, you know. I'm great.
Yeah, well, don't mess it up. You done good. Don't mess it up. But I will give you a few minutes to give your closing remarks.
My closing remarks, because I want to say thank you for all the input you've given to whoever did put their input. I think it's a very important topic that we should be discussing more often amongst each other and our children. And I think that y'all put a lot of light on different things that I didn't look at. And I want to say thank y'all. And other than that, I'm going to close it with I love y'all. Y'all have been great. And the floor is yours, Brother Hamp.
All right. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Brother Everett, your closing remarks.
I have none at this time.
All right. Is there anyone that is on the line that has a show that is on the podcast that would like to announce their show and the times that it come on? If so, you may do so at this time.
I'm Ivadene with Ivadene with Company, talk worth listening to. I come on Mondays, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, talking about many different things, but it's usually talk worth listening to. Thank you.
Thank you, Ivadene. At this time, we are coming to the close of this show, which is the CCC Grown Folks Talking. It has truly been informative, definitely a lot of food for thought. And anyone that wasn't on, I feel like they say in church, you missed a treat. Because we really don't get a lot of topics like this, but this was a very informative, very informational session. And with that being said, my time is 9:58. If there are no other questions, comments, or concerns, then at this time, this session of the CCC's Grown Folks Talking Network, we bid you a good night. Thank you all for joining in. We look forward to you again next week. Same time.